Well, what do we have here? This is our Razor Drift Trike that we've had for about a year now. And I had originally bought this because of COVID-19, quarantining. Everybody was playing outside, having a good time. So it's just something to something to just play around on. The kids in the neighborhood would play on it, and I would play on it. It's pretty fun. You can get it to drift around pretty good. Now, I bought it used for 50 bucks. Went across town and got it, and it's actually in really good shape. It's a pretty decent unit. You can see it's a little rough, a little faded. So one of the things I want to do is start dressing it up. And again, I actually had used this for our Drift Trike template to kind of see how, to put one together and kind of the dimensions and whatnot. And there's a video on the assembly process for that Drift Trike that I was building at home. Again, that's still a work in progress. What we want to do with this is the handlebars. You can see they're a little rough. I had a sticker here that somebody removed. They're faded, they're scratched up, and I want to take these off and clean them up. Now, part of that is also playing with paint. I want to get better with using paint, whether it's a spray can or out of a more professional automotive paint style. But I want to start dealing with paint and seeing how to use it and work with it a little bit better. And I figured this would be a good project to practice that. We're going to take it off, sand it up, spray paint it, put it back together, and let's see how it looks. Here we go! Here's a little trick I learned a long time ago to put on and take off handlebar grips. And basically use compressed air. You just get it up under there, and obviously you need to hold it tight, and it expands out the rubber and you can pull it off pretty easily. However, you got to get it in there. In this case, might not work. Ah, there we go. Now, I've already loosened the nut that holds on the handbrake. You just slide it off. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to put it in the vise, and I'm going to use something like a rag just to hold it in place. And then we're just going to start kind of evening out the scratches that are already in the paint and the metal as much as we can. We're going to sand that out. Again, we're not going to sand all the paint off. We just want to get it rough enough and cleaned up enough that we can repaint it and have it look nice and feel nice. I'm going to start with 220 grit paper, and hopefully I can get a good enough bite on this that I can kind of get a good sand going. Alright, there we have it. Sanded down. It's pretty smooth. I'm pretty happy with that. Definitely went down to bare metal in a few places just because the paint was so nicked up, and that's alright. Next, we're going to want to primer this. So I'm just going to get a spray primer and go over it probably once or twice, and then assuming that sprays on smoothly, we'll go ahead and move on to painting it. So I got some primer, and just going to use some Rust-Oleum basic primer, and I was going to paint it outside and then There's some noise going on, so I couldn't really record it. Not that you guys really need to see it, but I like to document all the stuff that I'm doing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up this box here, and I'm going to actually just put it in here and spray a little, and see how that goes as some kind of shield. I've never done this before. This is purely an experiment, so if this goes awry, you guys are going to see it happen live, or at the same time. One thing I am going to do before I start priming this is I'm going to wipe it down, make sure all the dust is off of it, because I really want this to adhere well and the paint to last on it. This is a combination of rubbing alcohol and water. Well, apparently I didn't dry it all the way right here. Got some runs. That's okay. We'll wait for it to dry, and we'll sand it a little bit, and we'll shoot it again. According to the can, we need to wait about 10 minutes. All right, we'll come back in 10. All right, let's just see. The water comes off. What happens? Wipes right off, apparently. All right, good coverage. Now we gotta wait just another 15 minutes so I can fold that in and spray this in. All right, so here we are after priming the handlebars. Got a couple little spots right here and here and here, and a spot right there that didn't come out so good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand these down real quick, because again, I want to make sure that this is a nice looking piece. It's probably overkill for this, however, I want to make it look nice. This is more about the exercise of doing a quality job than it is really about the piece I am working on. So let's get to sanding. So as I start sanding this down, it's doing a good job. I realized though that I was still sanding with, I think, 220 grit, which is what I had used on the yellow to really get down through the paint quicker. And something like this, from what I understand, best of my knowledge, you probably want to use something that's a little bit more of a finer grit. So I'm going to go to a 400 grit sandpaper. This might be better with like a 600, just for a smoother finish. This is pretty smooth. However, I don't want to take quite so much material off at a time. I want it to be a little bit more of a finer, cleaner sand. So I'm going to go 400 grit. I don't have 600. So here we go. We've got a nice clean layer of primer on it. Now we can throw down some paint. I want to hang this up to paint it, but I really don't have a place to hang it. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to paint one end of it and then let it dry, kind of in my makeshift stand that I have here. That's almost embarrassing to have even on camera for you guys. And then we'll go ahead and let that dry, and then we'll paint the other side or end, or something like that. Yeah, you'll see. So we have our first little bit of spray paint. As you can see, I'm going for a nice kind of cherry red. The paint I'm using is just a Rust-Oleum red. I like it. I think it's a good looking color. I think it'll go well with the yellow. And so we're just waiting for this to dry up a little bit, and then we're going to move on to painting the rest of it, which is about another 14-16 inches worth. So okay, here's to getting it to dry. All right, let's throw a few more coats on here, and then we'll hang it up. Not sure from where yet. Maybe we'll figure that out first. All right, got a hook. We'll go over that in a minute. So here's our finished product. I missed a little bit of a spot on this end of the bar. where I didn't get the paint real thick, there's a little bit of the gray primer coming through. And this side of the bar, there's a little bit of a blemish in the paint where it's kind of rough. Oh, here we go, right here. So it's not perfect, but one of the things I want to do next is I want to see how wet sanding a spray paint like this isn't an automotive paint, this is a just a Rust-Oleum paint. I want to see what that'll look like. So let's go and do that next. Initially, I want to start out with 1500 grit paper. We're going to do a little bit of a wet sand. We're just going to spray it down real light. And we're just going to see what becomes of this. And if I mess this up, we can just paint it again. I'm not worried about that. So let's see what a little bit of a light wet sand will do. Now I'm starting on this section here that was really rough. I'm not sure how well that's going to come out on the camera for you guys to see. But we're going to start there and see if we can't get a good view of it. I am using a solution of water and a little bit of dish soap for a form of lubrication. And we're definitely getting some paint here. So we did come through some of this color here. The rough texture is definitely down. We still have that bit of an orange peel look. I think what I'm going to end up doing is we'll sand it with a little bit of a heavier grit, and then we'll go ahead and repaint it though. However, it is making for a very nice finish. It's very smooth. Yeah, see right through here we get some orange peel as well right here. Ideally, I'd like to use a 600 grit to 800 grit sandpaper. I don't have any of that right now. I have a 400 grit, which is really aggressive for sanding something like this down before a smooth coat, but I'm okay with that. I want to get a little bit of aggressive so we can get a nice smooth texture and then do a nice, really nice second coat. So at this point, off camera, I did another coat of paint, and I also did a 1500 grit wet sand. You can see it's kind of dull. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some rubbing compound, and we're going to start polishing it, seeing how it comes out with this kind of paint. If you've been watching my channel at all, you've seen me use this on Project Code Blue, and probably on the paint, and probably on the headlights. I really like this product. It's a great over-the-counter product, and we're going to use it again here on the handlebars and see how it reacts to this paint. If it doesn't come out well, we'll just paint it again and just leave it at that. If it comes out really good, great, we'll try it on some other stuff. Here we go. This is obviously going to be done by hand. We're just going to put a little dab of this stuff on the pad. This is the same pad I've used on the headlights, and we're just gonna gingerly apply it. Wow, that's a lot. And by gingerly apply it, I mean by copious amounts. We're gonna use a kind of orbital circular motion. Now that's round one. And you know what? That does not look very good. I'm not sure how that comes off on the camera. Let's see if I can get up close. You know, that doesn't seem to polish it at all. It does look a little bit better than up here, and it's smoother. It doesn't have much of a polishing effect. It's really interesting. Okay. Well, you know, before I go too far into this, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to call it. We're just going to repaint it. It looked really good before, so we're just going to repaint it. Leave it a nice wet glossy coat, how it comes out of the can. Alright, here we go. So we're back at our makeshift paint booth here, and we're going to go ahead and respray this now. It's going to have to be in two phases. I want to do one end first so we can have time to dry before I paint the other end, and we can hang it and dry properly. twisty tie hook. Didn't paint this end. I'll let this whole end dry and get tacky, and then we'll go ahead and paint this end, hang it back up, and let the other end dry. Here is our finished product of the handlebar painted. It's not perfect. It is a it's a rattle can paint job of Krylon, so there's not a great control tip on it. But all in all, it's glossy. It's pretty smooth. It looks pretty decent, and overall, I'm pretty happy with it. And so that completes this step. Now we're going to be painting the rest of the trike. That's coming up here shortly. I'm going to break this down into a couple of pieces so that these videos aren't too long, and something you guys can follow along. And piece by piece, we'll get it put back together and looking all together new. So that's going to wrap this one up here. Thanks for joining me. I hope you join us for our next video, which is going to be part 2 of this trike rebuild. And we're going to be continuing on with this process of working with the paint and developing that skill and kind of understanding what we're doing there. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you consider doing so, and maybe even hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. And when you subscribe, ring that bell for notifications and new videos as they post. So for now, this is Jeremy signing off at No Gears, No Glory. We'll see you next time here. Take care, bye-bye.